Welcome back, and I hope you're joining us as the end of the series. And if you haven't, I would even encourage you to go back and watch the other parts of this series before you get to this one. It will be worth your time. I don't want to take your time away from you without giving you something of greater value. And so we try to do that. Now, I told you from the beginning that we would use the last segment of our video series to try to give you an opportunity to enroll in our and become an owner with us, a part of our team here on what we are doing. So this is where I tell you my story, and it's where I hope you will see fit to join our cause. And so we have elements on many, many levels for you to participate. So let's have a look at them. Some of them will cost you a little tiny bit of money. Some of them might cause you to digger into your own pockets and say, that's valuable, I want to be a part of that. And some of you will simply want more free stuff because you're still evaluating who are these people and what are they after, and is it worth my joining up or being a part of this. And so this is the easiest part. So I'm going to come into my story first. This is who I am. I am Jael, and I have had a long and wonderful music career so far, along with doing a lot of other things. Now, here's why I got into all of this stuff. I got into the art because I was gifted as a lyricist. Primarily, I could write about things that other people didn't write about. I could make them sound good and appealing and be far outside of the range of your normal lyricist. And so I don't claim to be a normal lyricist. I claim to be an extraordinary lyricist. That doesn't mean that I'm the best. It simply means that what I do is uniquely different. And if you get very deep into my songs, you will find that out. So I invite you to do that. I invite you to explore my stuff and to find out that whether I'm writing religious content or non-religious content, the depth in my lyrics is going to be rewarding to you at a certain level. And some of it, if it doesn't relate to you, that's fine. Some of it will. And I have, right across the spectrum, seen a lot of response. I've written songs for children. I've written songs for adults. I've written songs for people who are not sure. I've written songs for things that about certain causes that will make you angry. I've written songs that will make you happy. I've written songs that will make you cry. And that's the claim of, I think, anybody who trades in the art realizes they're trading in emotion. And so you're going to experience the whole gamut of emotions. I hope you like the music. It's not in one genre. I've done 33 albums to date. There will be more very shortly because especially when I show you what you can be a part of, you'll see what's coming. And my 33rd album, which I recorded the end of 2018 and is being mixed yet and still worked on the production of it, still happening right now. It will be out hopefully by November 8th, which is the date I said to keep in mind in a previous video. So why have I developed like this with all these different sort of outreaches, some in alternative medicine, some in art, some in all these different fields that I've covered? Well, I had 12 children. One thing, growing up in a large family myself as the oldest, and my father had a business, and I always wished that my father's business had room for things beyond our inventions that made a difference to his vision of his business. I wish that his vision of his business had included our visions for that business, but it didn't. My little brother was very compliant to my father's vision, and he ended up inheriting that business. And a lot of us contributed many, many things to the business along the way. And it kind of, I don't want to say, for the sake of the people who are happily engaged in all what we're doing now, which includes me, I don't want to say that it was a disappointment to the sake of, hurting so bad inside but it did hurt. It was the kind of thing that said, all right, you gave so much, and then in the end, it was kind of like the business supported you, and you should be grateful for that, and just leave well enough alone. Just let it be. But my father tried to make sure that the vision of the future of that business would be only what he had for that vision, for that business. And I, early on in life, decided that I did not want to do that to my kids. So I built a business that encompassed their vision, whatever they felt was going to be valuable. And most of it was artistically based because that's the way we were. We just grew up like that. So my goal was that whatever the children wanted, we would have a division of the company at least that would embrace that, that would develop that for them, that would let them, when they got ready to go, would be giving them something that they could simply take with them and go and make as big as they wanted or as small as they wanted. So that's my story. My story is based on trying to develop some things for my kids. So because of my approach to my children and trying to accommodate their vision, I got used to the idea of expanding my company to be able to work cooperatively with other people's visions and to be able to keep things moving forward in a way that worked for everyone. And it allowed a lot of flexibility in who we became. So I had kids gifted in music, and we involved them in the music. We involved them in children's programming. We involved them on the stage. We involved them in writing. And so my oldest now runs a publishing house that we love to call home for our own stuff that's nonfiction and for adults. And perhaps at some point maybe she will do the novels that I have on the shelf and have created. The reason that she's never really considered that is not because she hasn't considered it, but because I haven't finished it. So I've got things that are mostly developed and, quite a number of novels that are like 90% finished. Yet they're not finished, and until they're finished, she can't release them. So perhaps that's where all of our stuff will go as adult material. Now, my daughter does not want to publish my children's picture books, and I have other kids that have pursued fine art and who have developed illustrations for my books and who have done things like that. And so we are a team. We are functioning as a team, and yet they're also very independent. One of those independent artist daughters has created the whole Figgy line. So she has been an illustrator and painter of shoes for the who's who of the world. She has Hollywood clients and the political who's who, and all these people are wearing her designs because she's amazing at it. And if you go to Figgy Shoes, she'll have a Pinterest account, and she has other things and blogs and all kinds of stuff. And so we have Figgy Shoes on one hand, and we have Little Dozen Books on another offshoot business to what we've done it. These things are supporting my children now. In addition to that, Naomi is a cake decorator, and she's done amazing things, closed down the baking side of the business. We got into keto baking and specialty baking, things like gluten-free vegan stuff and all kinds of things. And if you have a special need, we have a special niche developing these particular products for people because the need is there, the ability is there, the creativity is there, and the call is there. So these are things that my family now does that I have less of an interest in. When we first got that bakery going, I was interested in the chocolate more than the baking. From a medical point of view, loved raw chocolate and some of its basic properties, and there are some tremendous values to that part of my story. And so I also, being a creative person, decided to uniquely flavor chocolate. And so we developed a 76 flavor chocolate line called Sweet Somethings Fudge. And fudge is made of real chocolate. It's not the foam, or it's not the marshmallow creams and the high sugar content of other fudge on the market. It's not a low sugar product, so I don't want to give diabetics a lot of oh, come and get this sort of thing. Diabetics are better served by unsugared raw chocolate, which is insulin mimetic, and we can get into a discussion on that, but the point is it came out of things that we were good at, and we did, and so we developed that line, and that line continues today. It's quite a brand within our baking company, Sweet Somethings Chocolate. So it's got its own Facebook page and other things like that. So my story is quite multi-tentacled. It's multi-faceted out there, but it comes right back to who I am as a creator. And the value of creation for me is being made in the image of a creator. And so if it's creative, I'm in love with it already. So I have learned to recognize talent around me. I've learned to realize that I'm not the best at everything. Some people find the music after a while, depending on the period that I'm writing in. Some find the music tremendously varied and helpful and wonderful to listen to. And I have found it's helpful if I take songs from different writing periods and put them together on the same album, because then it keeps your attention better. If I did 10 songs I wrote in a row, you'd kind of look at them and think of them like a Boston album. Now, for those of you that don't remember Boston, let me summarize it for you. They came out with their first album, and by the time they came out with their second album, everybody thought it was still their first album, and their third album, everybody thought it was still their first album, because you really couldn't tell the difference. They were built on a sound, and that sound was unique and refreshing for one album, and then it got tired, and so the life of the band Boston, which is really one guy anyway, really kind of was short-lived, and it didn't last. So my albums, 33 of them, last because every 3 albums I basically changed my genre. I changed it up. It did not help me get popular. Obviously, you don't know who I am, for most of you, as far as a musician goes. And some of you will remember me as Jim Thompson II and Pre-Flight and all those early bands, Direct Current and the 8-piece Jesus Joy Band and other things from the early days, some of which had only cassette releases. And some of them we got to vinyl and released on vinyl, and it became my first 10 projects out there. So most of the albums, if you go looking for them today, you can't find them because they were never released by a major. They were never widely distributed. So within the small group of distribution we had difficulties storing master tapes. And when a flood finally hit the studios, and we went through actually 3 different disasters, but we'll just call it all a flood for a minute. It basically had wiped out all the masters, so we don't have a lot left. We have some products, some of which is worse for wear and sounds like it, and we don't want to release it again. I wouldn't mind re-recording it for posterity sometime, but that's the future and the past. So to tell my whole story, I have been beset by obstacles, not the least of which is my latest obstacle, which is a stroke. Now this stroke is a little different because obviously I can communicate with you. I'm not unable to be understood. Most strokes affect one side of the body or the other. Mine doesn't. Mine affects both sides, but very differently than you normally perceive it. That's because the stroke I've had is a cerebellum stroke. Now that's the base part of the brain. It's not really one side or the other. It does affect some very important functions, and so half of the inside of my body on my right side doesn't work very well. My right eye doesn't work very well. My limbs I have learned to control, but they don't want to work very well. On the other side of my body, on the left side, so normally a stroke will just affect one and the other side will be basically normal. In my case, I have lost all normal feeling. If you touch me very lightly on any side, any part of my left side of my body, there's extreme pain. There's a lot of neuropathy. Touching me with a firmer grip, that pain goes away and I feel nothing. I feel numbness. I feel no hot or no cold. I feel no liquid, no dry on that side of my body. And so it's like living in a coffin, really, with two different halves that don't function in even ways. They're not equally deprived and they're not equally capable, and yet both sides suffer deficiencies. This has led me to the next biggest challenge, which is that I have to live every day as though it's my last. The part of my brain that is obstructed, the artery, is one of the most difficult to operate on. Nobody is, by the way, talking about operations to take care of my problem, because even though the doctor looked at the MRI and said, you never know, it's one of those things that you could be here today and gone tomorrow, but we expect further incidents from you. We expect you to go this way because you are in trouble. Your brain is, your artery is very blocked in that one section. But it's so high up in my brain that it's not good to operate. Very, very low chance of either survival or not being permanently disabled if they try to operate. So nobody's in a hurry to do that, and they're waiting on things. So what I have found is that as a naturopath, I've been very interested in medical things. So I knew about experiments going on with the kinds of situations that would benefit me. So I have been very fortunate. I know of things that will be very, very helpful, none of which is approved by any kind of insurance. So there isn't anybody who will pay for experimental things, especially things that change the balance of the probabilities of being successful. If there's a small chance that it won't be successful, insurance will go, well, that's a reason not to pay for it. But I like the odds of 80% getting completely healed with some of these treatments to the odds of 90% not coming off permanently disabled. So those are the kinds of choices before me. So the option for me in my story is I want to get experimental treatment. Why would God not heal me supernaturally when part of my story is in the past He has reached in and healed me supernaturally from very tough situations? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, it may be His way of taking me out. That's okay if that's part of the plan. And I'm totally all right with that. I'm ready to go. But here's the other part of it. The other part of it is that sometimes He plants a seed and He waits for the tree to grow. And that is what intrigues me about my illness and knowing what I know. Yes, it's expensive to get treated, but my very treatment may lead to breakthroughs in other people's suffering. If that's the case, then I understand why He planted this particular seed in my life of this stroke. Because if I can come back to full capacity from where I am right now, it will lead the way for other people. And so I'm excited about that. I think it's a really good purpose for going through the challenges and the difficulties I'm going through right now. To do that, however, it does take some money, and that's why we're using this video to make this offer today. I'm having a dinner on November the 8th. That's a fundraising dinner. The cost is $25. So I said to you right up front, what I'm going to ask you to do today is not something that's going to be very financially challenging. And it's not. So we want you to look at this dinner like a conference. And in the interest of full transparency, I'm going to give you reasons why I think you should be there and why you would come. And I will also give you the reasons that we want you there and that we want you to come. So first of all, let's look at all the possibilities of what you're getting into if you show up. I'm going to encourage you to show up at 6 o'clock. And the reason I'm going to encourage you to do that is because the door's open and there's an hour's worth of networking time there. You are interested in building a team out of people that you get to know. And so what we're doing is we're giving you a very different look at a different world, a different set of people coming to this dinner for a lot of the causes or reasons that you might be interested in supporting this dinner as well. First of all, there's the medical reasons. There's the idea that stroke victims everywhere or brain-injured people can be receiving something from the success of my getting treatment. Just in terms of visibility, in terms of getting the word out there. These are important things to do, and they're important things to be a part of. And you may have a real desire and interest in seeing people that are injured or damaged, diseased, to receive new levels of medical treatment. And so the idea of getting the 5 different types of treatments that I need to be involved in, and I'll explain those to you. First of all, the very beginning of my treatment I've already started, and that is to get rid of the risk in further events. And so we've developed a understanding of certain things about cleaning the bloodstream, about making sure that those arteries can be opened up again, non-surgically, which is the real key to this, that we're able to make progress. We're able to stop the risk of that kind of clotting that happened in the creation of my stroke. And we're doing that through a number of substances. We have developed our own recipe for food that by simply getting in and examining patents that people had on certain medical terms, so we were able to see what they were actually doing. We've done that, and so there are things, and we're excited about those possibilities and the possibility of giving you a taste of things at the dinner. So you'll be able to see that there's some maybe venture capital ideas that you could be a part of. There's maybe things that you could just all kinds of possibilities in terms of your help in terms of medical treatment and making sure that these things go forward. So that may strike a chord with you, and that may be a part of why you're there, and the people that you're there to network with will have that same cause at their heart. What's really good about our event is that just as you don't have one favorite artist and you're able to listen to more than one kind of music at a time and like it, you're able to embrace more than one cause at this event. So if it's not medicine that's making you move towards this particular event, or compassion even for me or for other people that are in this condition, if that's not it, what if it's the art? What if it's the idea that I'm a musician and I have been a filmmaker and an author, and we teach other things. These are really important things for certain people, and certainly there are great things to be involved with in the arts. What if you're talented? What if you have a reason to connect with the record label in other ways? So all of these are possibilities for your networking. In addition to that, then we have there are literacy campaigns, things that we want to see children able to read, and so we give them attractive books and we help them with a literacy program. That's a cause that you can be involved with our event. That's something else. What about the idea of ministry? What if you are connecting with me on a spiritual level and you say, well, I like your approach. So I need to pause for a moment and just talk about that approach for a while, because you recognize that I've said things in this context that sometimes I do non-religious things, but I am a Christian, and so I've made no bones about either one of those two things. And I've basically said that, how in the world can I put those two things together? How can I do non-religious things and still look at this as ministry? And how can you be involved in ministry if I am not committed to 100%, religious content? You can understand where I'm coming from, but understand this, that back in the day that I first got it started, I was happy being a Jesus musician, evangelizing through my music. When I got back to Canada, I discovered something called the CRTC, that's the Canadian Radio and Television Commission, and it's a regulatory commission that basically said that because Canada was a multicultural nation, they would not license any station, no radio, to ever have a religious viewpoint. That would be a single religious viewpoint, because all the airwaves belong to all Canadians, and as a multicultural society, it would be wrong for them to put a favorite or any kind of viewpoint on the air. Well, the truth is, of course, they were putting atheism on the air as a religious viewpoint and enforcing it. But this is the negative results of a socialism-style government that decides for you what you should be able to listen to and what you shouldn't be able to listen to. In a free market, the economics would determine that, but this is not a free country in that way. And so your idea of what would be presented to you would be determined by a commission of people who made the decision for you, what you could hear, what you couldn't. So in those days, there was only one radio station permitted in Three Hills, Alberta, because that was a 100% Bible college town. No one was not involved in that particular religious viewpoint that lived within the radio broadcast distance. And so they allowed a station there. That was the first one that they licensed. Then they licensed one in Newfoundland. And that was because also the community had 100% agreement on what they wanted to hear. And there were no dissenting. No matter how much they trolled to try to get dissenting viewpoints, the public demanded what they demanded, and so the CRTC bent. Today they've bent in a new way. It's kind of a deal with the devil. They've allowed a network or a small kind of group of stations that exist under a certain banner, and that banner is restricted, so it can't sell advertising for its existence. It must rely on donations. It must have all kinds of... So there are all kinds of restrictions based on, if you're going to be a religious program, then you have to be different than anybody else. You can't have music on that station unless it's in a very specific 1 hour segment of a program, and you have to have all kinds of variety and all kinds of things. So the regulation is excessive and not so good. So here's what I was faced with when I came back here. I realized that God called me away from being a Jesus musician, which became CCM in the process. But why? Because I realized that Jesus as an artist, when he walked the world, now most people look at Jesus as the artist and said, well, he created everything. What do you mean he's an artist? Well, he was a storyteller. He told a lot of stories that didn't necessarily sound religious, but had a very, very particular way of conveying the truth of God to the public. And so he told stories about a farmer out to plant and how seed fell in different kinds of soil. And he told stories about a woman who lost coins, or shepherds that were trying to protect their sheep. He didn't tell religious stories. He told stories that mattered, that illustrated that God's truth has no limits. It has no boundaries. And so when you look at life and you look at the realities of life around you, there's always something to be learned. And this was my approach to lyrics. It was my approach to music. So at that point, that's what began to happen. And I realized that I could be a Christian, have a strong stand, and be involved with non-Christians doing music. They were creative people made in the image of a creative God, whether they knew it or not. And so I found that there were very significant things I could do and make more of an impact being a Christian than trying to teach Christianity. As a result, our company has developed very differently. We do many things with many people. Now, if we're going to be working together, if you're going to be a part of my team, then you need to be on board with the same things that drive me. So if you're not a Christian, the odds are really good you're not going to end up working on JLT Records. not because we're biased, but because we don't have the same vision. So you may be involved in, say, the ministry aspect is the part that drives you, and that there's a certain resonance about what I'm doing and a certain desire to do something similar. So that's if you have the art as a driving force, or you have the ministry as a driving force. You could have the medical, as I mentioned, or you could have the teaching aspects of what I do. We teach business principles, as is evident from this video series. We're trying to help you learn through stories the best way to make your life valuable, make your life count. So we are involved in more than one thing. So there's business acumen that we teach. There's literacy that we teach. There is lots of good, positive causes, and you will get to network and rub shoulders with people with perhaps more than one goal and more than one cause that aligns you and pulls you together. So treating this dinner like a conference, you're going to get the face-to-face, most powerful way to network and begin to become part of a team that will eventually allow you to build a team. So that's what we're really offering you in this dinner. It's why we think it's so valuable, why we think you should pay for a dinner ticket and get on a plane. Not because the dinner ticket's expensive, it's $25. And that's a donation. We're not even selling that. We're saying, okay, give us a donation of $25 and you can have all you can eat. We want to give you value for it. What if you can't come? Well, we've developed a CD that I want to send to you, a double CD, and it will require an additional donation if you're eating on the $25 you gave. But if you come and if you don't come and you've given $25, we always want to give you value. We always want you to walk away with something more than you came with. And so we're very happy that if you buy a ticket and you decide you cannot make the dinner, we're going to send you the CD. It's a double CD. It's called Hope for Healing, and I will explain more about how it came to be and what's involved in it, why you might want the CD a little later in this video. I'm trying to focus right now on, if you treat it like a conference and that's why you decide that you need to be there in person, then we want you to understand that the night is going to be an amazing night. First of all, there's that networking opportunity for the first hour, then there's the dinner, and of course you can sit with whoever you want and you can continue that network process. But in addition to that, we're going to have a sponsor area where there's going to be tables and people you can talk to. There's going to be a silent auction. There's going to be other prizes, raffles, things like that, things that are entertaining. And then there's the concert. Now, I will tell you that if I had to pick my very favorite people in the world to go to a concert and I would pay money for, some of those people are going to be on the stage that night. You are going to be excited to be at that concert. It's going to be world class. I can't say enough about it. It is worth the donation all by itself, and there are people who are going to miss the dinner, who are going to come for the concert simply because we only have 600 dinner tickets available. After that, anyone who comes can't eat, but they're able to get in on the show, and there will be people who do that. We expect the number to go anywhere between 600 and 1,000 for the concert alone. And so we want you to be able to do that. Now, if you pay for dinner, you just stay for the concert. You're not paying extra for it. So we really believe we've given a lot of value for you to come from wherever in the world you choose to come from. You're going to not be sorry that you did if you treat it like a conference and network, and two, enjoy yourself. You can get food and a world-class concert. Can't beat that for the price anyway. But the real goal here is not to sell you things. The real goal is to provide opportunity, create the event, make this all happen, and raise some money in the process. And that, of course, relies on generosity. It doesn't rely on, you paid this, you get that, and we're going to measure and make sure the scales balance and all of that. The real goal here is that as we are open-handed with you, and we've given to you even through this video series, we hope that you'll be open-handed with us. That's part of our goal and part of our reason and purpose of doing things. There's a lot more to it than that, though. Our goal for the dinner is to raise $70,000 US for treatments. There are 5 of them that I need. The first one we're already spending money on, and it's not very expensive, and we've spent most of the money that's been raised on the GoFundMe page, and I should probably reference that now. If you have given something via the GoFundMe page and you want to come to the dinner, I would just say come. We'll have a free ticket for you. I don't think anybody has given on that page less than the price of the dinner, so we will be very happy to give you a ticket if that's the way you choose to do it. You do need to let us know. You have to send an email to us and let us know that that's what you're doing, because we only have so many tickets and every one of them is numbered, and we need you to do something. Now, what if you want to pay for a ticket and you don't want to come? You can do that, and we will have that option that you can just check that off through the online services that we plan to be using for our ticket sales. Our purpose for this, of course, is to raise $70,000 US for the 5 different treatments. The first treatment and the last treatment are not overly expensive, but they're probably beyond what most people could do monthly in terms of just being able to take supplements. If you had roughly $750 US in extra costs every month, it would probably put some of you in a very bad position. I'm in that position. It's a position I can't do by myself, and I need the help. At the same time, it's not an extreme or extraordinary thing. So the first treatment that I'm already paying for is one that reduces my risk. It takes my possibility of dying quickly out of the scenario. Of course, nobody's guaranteed life. I mean, I could walk outside and be struck by a car between now and the dinner, but the idea is that we take the blockage that's in my arteries and we take it out of the danger zone of dying instantly. Now, my doctor doesn't believe that I can actually fix that. He believes that we just wait and see, and that every day could be my last. He expects further events, as in more strokes or a rupture or something, and I probably won't last very long because, from his point of view, the artery is not fixable. He's ordered an MRI so that we can have a look in a few months, but he told me if it's the same and not further blocked, he will consider it a win. I won't. I don't like living with the knowledge that, any moment could be, that's it. And so I have had a couple to maybe 3 events since the major stroke that have set me back and have been minor strokes type things, TIAs, that when they happen, they're scary. I look to heaven and say to God, is this it? Are we done? Because I don't know. I don't know what's coming. But those are the realities that I live with day to day. So my goals for this, of course, are to raise the money to, first of all, I have raised the money, and if the money will continue to come in at the rate it's coming in, I will be able to see it through to the cleaning out of the arteries that are blocking the brain, and that will help me get away from the edge. It won't heal me. It won't cause anything to fix that has been damaged by the stroke, but it will be a preventative. So that's the first treatment. The second treatment is called paraspinal etanercept, and you can find that on my website. You can find that on my GoFundMe page. You can find examples. There are hundreds and hundreds of examples of people who walk away 20 minutes after receiving an injection, basically completely healed of all the damage that's been done by the stroke. Now, the reason that happens is because what it does is it addresses the inflammation that actually blocks the neuron pathways of the brain, sending the right signals to the right muscle groups. And so you end up with a ability to function as though you never had a stroke. But it's short-lived. Unfortunately, it's not permanent. It lasts for several years, but the end result is that I'm going to need another shot at some point. That's a $15,000 expense for me because I have to travel to where I get the shot. There's the shot involved. There's the tests involved prior to getting it, to making sure everything is right. So there's a lot of costs involved here, but I could get one of those every 7 years is the prognosis. That's the projection for what they expect to happen. Now, I don't believe that's the end. I don't want a temporary fix. I want a permanent fix. So the next stage after that is called MSC, stem cell treatment. It's very ethical. It's not embryonic. It doesn't do anything with abortions or anything like that. That would cause me to say no. Just because as a Christian, even if it healed me, I wouldn't want it. So that MSC treatment is a phenomenal treatment. It shows major promise. We see people with all kinds of traumatic brain injury, spinal injury, all kinds of things, making great strides forward, things that were never expected to exist even 10 years ago. Although still experimental, the outcomes are very common. They are very positive, and so far, no negatives. We haven't seen anybody react in negative ways to this particular form of stem cell treatment. Now, I will caution you, if you're looking at stem cells and you see high risks, most of those high risks were associated with ESCs or embryonic stem cells, and those were terrible and a lot of nightmare stories and a lot of those things. This is not what we're talking about now. It's a totally different idea. So from our point of view, we're trying to raise some money. We really hope that the dinner will raise only the first of those major treatments. There are 3 major treatments, 2 minor ones. I expect to be able to make the money to pay for the minor ones by the time we get all of our product launched at the dinner. That is going to be a very helpful and hopefully ongoing source of revenue. So I'm not looking for donations to take me through all the way to the finish line. I'm looking for knowing what our goals are, knowing what we have to raise, and yet looking for pathways that will get us there, and looking for the team that's going to help us get there. So perhaps that's you. Perhaps we are looking for you. So one of our goals for having a conference-style dinner is that you show up, especially if you have something to offer to contribute, to become part of our team. I'm looking for team members, as I hope you are. I want to tell you about Africa. It's another story. But I was poised to go to Africa to do 2 things. One was to teach a business seminar based on a book that I wrote called 8 Keys to Lasting Success. Now, you could look at that and say, well, you're not world famous. What makes you think you should have even written that book in the first place? Well, that book is built on a book that has stood the test of time. We take all of those keys from the first chapter of 2 Peter in the Bible. And so we look at God's reasons and God's ideas and what success is about, and we break it out that way. Well, that was the basis of the business seminar I was going to teach in Africa. In addition to that, we were hoping to found JLT Records Africa, and we had to cancel because of the stroke. And so we're looking at ways in which those same kinds of principles may go forward, those same kinds of developments may go forward. And they have become part of our team in the sense that they were going to be my touring band over there. There are all kinds of really, really good people that were really excited about expanding the JLT Records family into internationally. So that's something that is coming, if that's something of interest to you. That's also part of the story that we're telling. So when you come to the dinner and you enter the area of the sponsors, I want you to think about this, because this is not going to apply to everyone, but it will apply to some of you. Some of you have businesses that could benefit by aligning themselves with us. And so sponsorship is something that we offer. Cooperative ventures. We are not tight-fisted. And people look at this and say, all you're doing is talking about, giving and becoming a part of this, becoming a part of that. And you're not talking about paying. You're not talking about, how people manage to financially survive when they adopt your model. Well, here's the answer to that question. The answer to that question is there are lots of financial partnerships. If I hire you as an employee, I cap your income, I tell you what your potential is, and hopefully if I don't make money on you, I can't keep you. So you got to produce more for me than I'm willing to pay you. Well, that's not really true of the sponsorship model, and it's not really true of the partnership model. So let's say you have something that you want to contribute, and you're bringing that to the table. What we do is we sit down with you face to face and we negotiate who owns what at the end. And nobody puts anything in without coming away with some ownership. That's the financial model. That's the way people get paid here. People own what they produce, and therefore if it works, they get a lot of money, and if it doesn't work, they don't get very much. But it's based on the idea that by walking together, we can make things work better. And so if you're a sponsor, if you have a business and you want a sponsorship opportunity, my encouragement is call me right away and let's see what we can do, because you can have a place at the dinner, and you can also be part of the ongoing projects, whether they're literacy projects, whether they're music projects, film projects, whatever. There are a lot of things by which you can financially benefit. And that includes also if you're just, if you're talent looking for a home, or if you're willing to do work for our organization, like web pages and graphic design and all the different things that we absolutely need. There's a place for you here. And we hope that by meeting you face to face, this will be a possibility. Now, what if you can't come and there's no way to meet us face to face, and you're looking for what situations exist that are mutually beneficial by being involved in this anyway? Well, first of all, I've talked to you about the CD, so let me explain to you about the Hope for Healing CD and what you get. The Hope for Healing CD is a double CD. It's very unique. Each disc will be almost a double CD's worth of music. The first one has 15 songs on it. It comes from JLT Records family members. In other words, these are all people that I've either contributed to their life or work, or they've contributed to mine. Somehow we've been involved. We've played in each other's bands. I might be on more than one cut on those things, and yet they're not all going to be me or a particular label of me or a way in which I'm presenting to you. They're going to be 15 different cuts, radically different in style, radically different from each other. And as a result, you're going to enjoy the disc, no matter what your musical tastes are. I will give you that guarantee. If you don't like it and you think you bought it, send it back and I'll give you your money back. How's that? But I know that you're going to love that CD. Now, the second disc on that CD is like a bonus, but it's 18 songs and it's all demos. Just me and an acoustic guitar or a piano or maybe a couple other instruments, but they're demos of things that need to be in the studio to be treated right and to be produced well. And they're not, and they never will be unless I get my voice back from healing or I find someone willing to sing my songs and have me produce them. And so there are many, many things here. And that would include things like children's music. That would include things like jazz and rock and roll and so many different styles. A little bit of rap, a little bit of... It just doesn't matter what you like. And I will guarantee you that we will not blow anybody out of the water with things that are distasteful. We will do things as long as you understand that some of these artists will be very upfront about their Christianity. Some of these artists will be instrumentals and you won't really understand their purpose without knowing that They are all united as a part of our purpose. So that's what you can expect from the CD, and that CD will be, I think, very motivational and very hopeful and wonderful to listen to. And I know for sure that even if you don't listen to the second one a lot, you'll listen to the first one over and over again, and there's 15 songs and an hour's worth of music there. So that's what you can expect from that CD. It's called Hope for Healing. If you want one, make sure that you send in your ticket price or even greater donation. We're not selling them, so if you are involved with us for at least $25, we will send you that CD for free as a response to your donation. The goal is to give and to give, not to sell and not to buy and sell. And if you can't afford that CD and you really want one, you write me and we'll see what we can do, okay? That's just the realities of the economics. If God allows us to have enough to give into you, we want to do that. That is the purpose behind all the things we've done so far. It's the purpose for why we are looking to do these videos, to do future teaching videos. Hopefully, they'll be a little more organized in the future. They won't be as winding and rambling, because although I do believe in the storytelling elements, this series came together in a hurry. And you have to know that. It's not like we think this is the best series in the world, but we do think that we're going to be able to give you better and better teaching product in the future. We might develop our whole 8 Keys to Lasting Success on a video series. That would be, we currently teach that. It's over a week-long course, so there are a lot of hours there. But hopefully we'll do that. And that, of course, is far better organized, because when you write a book, you can't ramble. You could, I suppose, but it wouldn't be a very well thought out book. So we've presented to you what we can give you right now, and in the time frame and in the pressure we've had, we've given as much as we can give, and we're hoping that's apparent to you. As a result, we are looking for givers to become part of our team. So let's talk about how you find this event. We are at the Focalar Furland Club, and you can look that up online and get directions. We're in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. It's Focalar is F-O-G-O-L-A-R, Furland, F-U-R-L-A-N. As I said, the doors open at 6. There will be networking opportunity, viewing the silent auction, doing things like that, visiting our sponsor area, being able to talk to different people with different views. You can find out what drives people to come to this event, and as a result, see if there's a connection and a relationship that can be developed. So those are very key things. Treat it, as I said, like a seminar, like a conference, like you're going somewhere that is going to matter. Now, if you're coming in from out of town, and there needs to be further events, we will be talking about that. That's one of the reasons for it being a Friday night, is that we can set up some very interesting small group sessions on Saturday, if that's what you want to do. You are going to need to email me if that's what you're looking for, and I will try to put groups together that matter to each other. So please do that. Please send me a response as soon as you can, once you know you want to be here and that you can be here. Be sure you have a passport to be able to cross the border into Canada if you're coming from another country. If you need a visa, these all have to be arranged. November the 8th is not that far away, and we want to be able to have you see this video by that time, which means we're going to have them much sooner than a week apart each. So we're going to be sending this video out on Monday nights and on Thursday nights, and we will hopefully have you tie in, and so that within 2 weeks you will have the complete series under your belt. You'll have seen all of this, and you're able to move forward in making sure that you can be at this conference. If you are seeing this video after November the 8th, we do realize that 2019 won't last forever, and videos, once a part of the internet, have a tendency to stick around and to be found long after the purpose for which they were created. So I want you to know that whether you're seeing this in advance of the dinner, we hope you come if you do. And if you're seeing this afterwards, you can still be a part of the family at JLT Records or JLT Media Works, as it has become. The way to do that, of course, is to go ahead and send in the donation of $25, get the CD, get on the mailing list, or whatever level you feel comfortable in doing this. Obviously, the dinner will not raise all the funds necessary for the treatment. So there will likely be quite a large ongoing need for raising money for my illness. If that opportunity has passed, as you can see from what we are developing, there are many other causes for which we exist. So whether it's literacy or art or other medical reasons, other medical trainings, other educational trainings, business trainings, whatever it is, we will not only be able to use the money to good use, but also I want to refer you to our regular Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Jael and Jael, and you will be able to see what we are currently putting money towards at any point in the future. So we want to let you know that all is not lost if you're seeing this late. So to summarize this event, this is very key. There are more things to be involved in with our team than the event has to offer. And so we want you to realize what opportunity we're actually presenting you here. Of course, the big one is the event itself. If you can't do the event, and you can't or don't want to do something for a CD, and that's not of interest to you, what else can you be involved with us doing? The very first thing I would suggest costs you nothing, and that is to sign up to our email list. Send us an email quickly and say, we want to be a part of this information that you're starting to put into the world. There will be lots of things that we will give free from this point on, but to get notified, you have to stay in touch. For us to know about you, we have to have you on a list somewhere. We won't spam you. We won't sell our list to anybody else. But we will be sending you all of the different things that are part of the artistic world of JL or JLT Records or any of the companies that we're involved in that have some kind of reach. So you may get things from Thompson Baking. You may get things from the different brands that we have. You may get things from art organizations. You may get things from medical organizations or be told about certain treatments that exist for certain conditions. So these are all things that you might get by signing up on our list, but they will keep you in touch with us, and you will know they come from us. So we're not interested in just throwing emails at you all the time. We are interested in letting you know about the opportunities that we actually have available. And if you're interested, we want you informed. So it's part of a discovery process, and we encourage you to continue to discover who we are and all the different things we do as a naturopath, as a musician, as a filmmaker, as an author, as a speaker, as a business developer, as a put together of opportunities like this, promoter and producer of events, conferences, other things like this. There will be a lot that we'll be able to let you know about if you're on the list. So that costs you nothing. That would be number one. Number two is you may be just interested in out of compassion or out of furthering the medical cause, and God has blessed you financially. You may want to do just simply a donation, and that is greatly appreciated. and fully accepted. We promote other events. We do things like the Under the Tent Christian Music Festival. It's a family-friendly festival that happens once a year, except this year, for obvious reasons, we took a year off. There's a possibility that you could bring us to your town. We come and we do business seminars, we do music events, we do all kinds of ministry events, and so there's many, many opportunities that if you invite us, we may be able to work together, and you may never have to leave your town in order to have face-to-face meetings and to see how things get developed. So those are possibilities as well, and we want you to be aware and make sure that you're willing to ask the questions, because we're willing to listen. So what we're really hoping you got out of this series is that you have been able to discover on your own what matters to you. First of all, you've discovered the causes that are close to your heart. You've discovered us, that we are here. Perhaps you've discovered us as artists. I hope you've gone on to seek out and look for things on Drupal.com or numberonemusic.com. My former webmaster is my second oldest daughter. She got married and moved to Texas, and that was the end of a very beautiful thing and the beginning of another very beautiful thing. So we are currently in between ability to fix our own web, so we're looking for that. We have other things that are ways in which talented people can be involved with us. So as a point of discovery, we hope that you're finding that there are things you can do. We hope you are finding us as artists, musicians, filmmakers, book authors. We hope that you're discovering a lot of things on your own, and that you're enjoying that process of discovery. So you're invited to become a part of our team and to make us a part of your team. That is the option. That is what I told you was coming. And so the numbers on the table, the hard number is $25. The free option is there. The contribute your services is there. And the contribute your cash is there. And to work in a sponsorship way is there. So really 4 to 5 ways of becoming active with us. And we really can't encourage you enough right now, before you forget, before it becomes less important to you, to make a decision to at least sign up for the dinner and tell us whether you're coming or not, and we'll decide. If you're coming, we'll be selling those CDs, and they'll be $25 in addition to the dinner. But if you're buying a $25 dinner and you can't come, then $25 is the fee, and we send you the CD without making it. Anyway, want to always give you value for anything that you invest. So please understand that. And even your time that is valuable. I hope we've given you something of value in this series. Go back and watch it again and again and again. There are some nuggets and some gems in this series. Okay? Love ya. Thanks. God bless you. We'll see ya.